Welcome to Germany versus USA. Today we're going to talk about banking.
Alex has a fascination with how innovative our U.S. banking is.
It is really,
or lack of.
It's really, really archaic. I remember when I lived in the States for a while with my host family, and my host mom, she would sit down every week for like 2 hours and like actually write, like she would have a checkbook, and she would like write checks, put them into an envelope, put like a stamp on there, and drive to the mailbox to actually throw it into like the mailbox, and then would fly, like would go through the entire country to basically transfer some money, right?
Right. I think, well, Americans, we still rely heavily on traditional banking, even though there's a ton of online banking. I mean, I pay a majority of my bills online. However, there's a lot of things that I don't still. I mean, you rode with me today while we basically did errands,
right,
where I got my work check in the mail. Then I had to take that to the bank. Then we came back here. I wrote out a personal check from my other bank account, moved it over. Then from there, I went and wrote another check to pay my rent, and then I wrote another check to pay a bill. And the reason for all that...
There is no reason for all that.
Well, no. You get charged here.
Yeah.
And so I've had jobs in the past where, I've had direct deposit, and, and that's wonderful. I've also lived in apartment complexes and houses that you have, direct withdrawal. However, currently, because there's still places like this in the U.S., my job, the bank I'm using, wants to charge $25 per business-to-business transaction. So my boss is just like, you know what, I'll just go deposit this or mail it to you.
Right.
And then my apartment complex is the same way, where they're like, yeah, we can do direct withdrawal, but we're going to charge...
direct withdrawal from the bank account, right?
Right, but we're going to charge you extra money. Well, it's just, I just
So that's why, that's why this morning we actually dropped off the check for the rental of this apartment, right?
Right, we did.
We actually walked around the door, went to the office here of the apartment building, and dropped it in like a little box in there.
Oh yeah, very high tech.
So Americans use a lot of checks, and actually it's also like, sometimes if you go to a grocery store, you'll actually see people like be standing at the cashier stand basically and like filling out checks, and then they hand them to the cashier and they put them into some kind of crazy machine. And then it's either,
and they'll staple the check onto the receipt and give it back.
Right, right.
That is, you see less and less of that. I mean, I haven't seen that in a couple of years.
Okay.
But basically, when checks were first going away on like a broader standpoint, grocery stores and other businesses had machines that you could write a check, and all you did was sign your name and date it and like put what it was for, and it would run it through and it would put the amount owed and to whom, and then it would basically read it and just have all that information, and then they'd give you the check back.
Okay, and you sign on the back of the check sometimes, or what is that?
Right.
Mean?
So if you get, like, if I receive a check in the mail, I have to endorse it on the back.
Okay.
Otherwise, the bank won't take it.
Okay.
So that basically, like, if you find a check to me, you can't really do anything with it. Which I don't really understand that, because even if you find a check endorsed by me and you go try to deposit it, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to be like, no, you can't. But maybe if it's endorsed, anyone can. I always know, if you endorse a check, you don't want to lose it.
Okay. And when you deposit your check, you drive. It's actually kind of cool what you did today. And so you drive up. They have drive-ins, like they bank drive-ins, so you don't have to go into the building. Right. Actually, you can drive in there and you can talk to a person. And what Jim's roommate did the other day, they had like a tube system, which I found really cool. So you get kind of like a thing where you put the check in, and then there's actually like a real tube out of the car where you put it in, and just, I guess, by like whatever pressure.
Vacuum, yes.
Vacuum.
It's a big vacuum system. You put it in it, whoop, it's gone, and they return it back to you. Actually, fun story. I was driving to the airport to fly to Germany. Yeah. And I went to go withdraw some money, and I had to give my ID. So I gave them my passport because I just had it, and I was like, oh, whatever. I just put it in the tube, and like the tube cylinder shut off and watched it go about to right here. Okay. It got stuck. Oh no! It got stuck, and like when I used to live in Mississippi, I mean, getting to the airport, it wasn't like you're just taking a train 5 seconds away. I mean, I had a 3-hour drive ahead of me plus the international flight. I was just like,
oh, my passport is in that tube.
Of all the days, I need this. And they had to get a tech truck out there and take the tubing apart and so I could get it back.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever seen one malfunction, and it happened to be a day that I was trying to get up to Memphis for a flight.
And your passport was stuck in there?
Yep.
In Germany, very few people use checks. You do see them a lot in France, actually. And the reason is that if in France, if you basically, I guess, deposit like a check and it is not endorsed, I think that's a proper term, your credit is gone for 5 years or something. Like, you will not get any kind of credit from anyone. And that's why a check in France is actually a very, very secure way of payment, because you know if you get a check, pretty sure it's endorsed.
That's a good point. If anyone's ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can, which is a book, it's about it's about fraud back, I guess, in the 60s and 70s, and the guy he was very good at writing fraudulent checks.
It's like with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks, right? The movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he always had the checkbook and.
Right. Oh, okay. And so that's interesting because of instances that are similar to that, France probably took a very serious.
Yeah.
Stance.
So still using checks in France, actually.
So do you even have a checkbook? Like, do you?
I've never seen. Actually, for my, I don't have a checkbook. No, I've never actually I did use checks in the U.S. like from someone gave them to me and I just filled in the amount and I paid with that.
But a German bank account, you don't have.
No, I don't have a checkbook. I don't use checks. I don't know people who use checks. Once I used them to pay for my. Dance classes actually was the the one we have an episode on actually how Tanzschule in Germany, and I remember for some reason my dad he gave me like a check of 190 euros or D-mark, I don't know.
Yeah, I had a mark back in the day.
And I was really, really insecure because I was like, oh, I don't have any money. Everyone had money. Everyone had like money in their hands, and I just had this paper thing, and I gave him to the dude, and he's like, oh, cool, that's the check, and then he gave me 10 euros or D-mark back, and that was just a weird transaction in my head, basically. But yeah, checks, not very common in Germany. Very, very uncommon, actually. Online banking, Jim mentioned online banking earlier, that some Americans do online banking, and it's getting more common. In Germany, I mean, I've been doing online banking, like all my bank transactions, basically since probably 10 years at least, 10, 12, 13 years, I think. And I mean, I barely ever enter a bank. I don't know what they're doing in there. It's just cleaning personnel, I guess. I don't know, but like, I mean, I can do, we do direct deposits. The salary you just get deposited into your bank account.
But are there fees? Because I think that's the biggest difference. Because we get, with who our lenders are, who our banks are, the fees, we get nickeled and dimed.
Right.
And that's why people get so frustrated and still use checks.
I mean, it depends on what kind of bank you had and where you did the transfer to, but it's tiny amounts. It's tiny. I mean, I think it was like 25 cents or something, and then you can pay like a couple of euros a month, and then everything is included basically. So it's actually very cheap and it's very fast also. Like, and they don't make a difference between what you said like earlier, like business to business deposits or private to private. Like, they don't make a difference, like not at all. So if I wanted to, and you had a German bank account, I could just go online right now. Then I would get a text message on my cell phone, basically like like a transaction number for security. I would type that in, type in the amount, your account number, hit enter, and probably the next day, perhaps 2 days afterwards, it would be in your account. And for the bill, actually, like paying bills for my cell phone bill, all that stuff, basically the Telekom actually just basically sucks that out of my account every month automatically. Right. So I don't actually have to pay any bills.
That's how I'm with that. I'm with most of my utility bills, cell phone bill, internet bill, and then I get a notification verifying it or not. So I can say yes, pay this. No, don't take it.
That's actually, I don't think we have that. That would actually be kind of nice because like every once in a while the Telecom, they do suck a little bit too much out of there. Banking, it's very archaic in the States in some parts. Not everywhere.
Not everywhere, but we do use checks a lot more than I think other countries. Besides France. There you go, boys.
There you go. There's something in common here. You guys love each other. I know that. Feeling it here. And then Germany, a lot of online stuff. I mean, people still go in banks, but I guess most people do online stuff. So just everything from home.
Yeah, I'll take it easy.
Cheers.
Pack it up, son. Bring it on home. Drag your feet and hang your head all you want.
Should we finish it?
I hate American banks.
I know, it's just...
I was thinking I wanted to, like, there's so many, like, raging, angry stories of how I hate every bank I've ever dealt with.
You know, we should...
But I just can't figure out how to do it with, like, not eating up 15 minutes.